All right, here we go again for our next show. Hope you're ready for this one. Do you trust Bill Gates? Let's take a look at this. And do you trust, of course, more importantly, the money that he's putting behind a lot of this research, including this research we're going to talk about today about GM mosquitoes, genetically modified mosquitoes. That's right. This is not a joke. This is real. Look it up after the show, and you'll see that this is going on this summer. I repeat, this summer. So we'll take a look at the pros and the cons today of GM mosquitoes. Sounds like a joke, but it's not. And if you're ready, let me know by putting that comment down below in the comment section. Tell me you're ready for this, because I got to tell you, I wasn't when I first read it, but, it doesn't surprise me, as you'll soon see, because there's a lot of similarities to other things in the world that you and I both know are going on. Hi, I'm Jonathan Landsman, your host for Natural Health 365 Live. We do this show because it's all about improving your immune system and protecting your health. We do this show every single day, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So we produce another show for you, brand new, each and every day, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern. I hope you can join us for each one of these shows. And of course, as I often say, more importantly, I hope you share this show with someone that you feel needs to hear these messages, but maybe you just don't know how to put it to them. Well, now you can share a show, and just when they're done, you can ask them what they think about it. That's all. Okay, so if you're new to this show, do me a huge favor right now and just type new, N-E-W, in the comment section below. Just type new, and I'll be happy to say hello to you. I really look forward to meeting all of you, but especially our new people to the Natural Health 365 Live show. All right, let's jump into it. Oh, by the way, I often say this, take notes, but today we're going to forget that, and you can just sit back and relax and just take this in. And as you listen to some of these pros and cons to genetically modified mosquitoes that Bill Gates is putting his money into, it's not his company, it's his money going into a company that is doing this kind of research. You can just sort of comment in the comment section below. Let me know how you feel about this. Where do you stand? Because I really did mean it before when I said, do you trust Bill Gates? And do you trust the research that they say they're doing in one thing or another? Today we'll focus on the GM mosquitoes. Okay, so the pros. Well, publicly they'll say lowering the population of disease-carrying insects. Sounds pretty good. I should take a step back, and the general premise of this is that if we can genetically manipulate, as I often say, genetically modify the mosquito, that when the mosquito is mating, with other regular mosquitoes, that somehow or another we're going to be able to reduce the risk that humans have from all of these bugs biting us. You see, when the bugs bite, it makes people sick or more predisposed to disease, right? From the insects, from the bugs. So if we could figure out a way in the lab to create some sort of genetically modified bug that sort of totally gets rid of the risk, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Now, I know some of you who are following me for a while, you know where I'm coming from with this, but let's just follow along with some of the other pros. Of course, they'll say to you, field testing, right, in quotes, that's the way I put it. Field testing has not found a significant impact on humans. Now, I don't know about you, but whenever I hear something like that, field testing, what was the field testing? We have no idea, at least not publicly in an easy-to-find way for most people. They'll just hear field testing was done, so don't worry. And it didn't have a significant impact on humans. What does that mean? Human beings didn't get bit by these genetically modified insects and drop dead, like God forbid, within 5, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 weeks? What? What does a significant impact mean to them? In other words, what would they have had to have seen to say, oh my God, we can't do this kind of research. This is horrific. It's even worse for human beings. So a lot of this is ambiguous, and you do see this across the spectrum when it comes to a lot of these experimental things that they want to do. They'll say it's perfectly safe, but do we really know for sure? Is it always going to be safe? And was it even really safe to begin with? So they also go on, of course, to say there's little to no effect on the environment. Wow. Again, two very general things. Little, what is a little? No effect, what is no effect? You might assume you know what that means, but you never know what they're saying. Keep in mind, this is not such a legal thing, right? The term little, no effect, in relationship to what? And on the environment. What part of the environment were they looking at? They couldn't possibly have looked at all of the environment. They want to obviously promote the idea that we should go ahead and do this. So they're putting out all these things, obviously, to set fears aside and put the public's mind at ease, right? But I know a lot of you have questions about this, so I just wanted you to hear the language that they're using. These are the pros. What specifically are they saying? Not much yet, and you can look this up. This is exactly the words they use, without any other details. And now here's a good main goal. Now I say it's a main goal. It just definitely is characterized under the pros for genetically modifying mosquitoes. We can overwhelm, listen to the language, this is a quote, overwhelm the natural male mosquitoes with GMO male mosquitoes to win at the mating game. So that's interesting, right? This is a very dominating type effect that they want to have with their science to be able to get the job done so that they can change the way the natural order of mating goes. Obviously, again, going back to the original goal, to get these GM, genetically modified mosquitoes, to mix in with the natural population, their mating, and then, of course, the production of the offspring will be far less risky for human health. That's their goal. Of course, they go on to say a couple other things, maybe 3 other things I put down here worth mentioning. No pesticides are added to the environment. That's a beauty. I mean, they really mean this, right? I totally get it. They really see, as scientists, that this is genuinely a great thing to do. Let's genetically manipulate the mosquito, get them to mate with natural, regularly occurring mosquitoes. And in this whole thing, you got to realize, general public, we're not using any extra pesticides. Now, why would they say that unless they know for a fact that pesticides are lousy anyway? That's a separate story. But you know what this reminds me of? This is exactly the same benefit premise that was used decades ago with aspartame. I know all of you know what that is, and that's a whole separate show. By the way, if you would like me to do a whole show on the real story behind aspartame, just make a comment in the comment section below, and I'll tell you a bunch of things that I've discovered over the years that are available but not generally known by most of the public. So if you're interested in that, great. But I'll go on to tell you that when they say this thing of no pesticides are added to the environment, nothing extra, this kind of reminds me of the aspartame promise, If we would have this kind of aspartame usage, if we could just approve aspartame to be put in all the products, you know what we would actually do? We would reduce that evil sugar out there. We could just, in fact, they went on to say, we could cut it down and there would be so much less usage of sugar. And wouldn't that be a good thing? Because we all know that sugar is bad for your health, And now we have this artificial sweetener that's hundreds of times sweeter, and then we can just sort of get rid of that. But what's happened decades later? We have this neurotoxic substance, aspartame. That's for a whole other subject. And sugar consumption hasn't gone down at all. People are still swallowing tons of sugar every year per individual on average. So I wonder if this promise, if you will, of, hey, we'll look at this GM mosquito thing. Now there's no pesticides added. Maybe, in fact, we could get the farmers to incorporate more GM mosquitoes everywhere they are, and then we could kind of reduce the pesticide usage all around the world. This would be great for the environment. My feeling is it'll probably not be much of a reduction in chemical usage because that would be bad for the profits of DuPont and Dow, and we would just have the presence of these GM mosquitoes. So we need to, oh, by the way, the last couple simple points they go is it's easy to do and low manpower activity. That's really good. Listen to the thinking process of these people. And also, here's the last one, a real kicker, helps to control the mosquito population. And we all know about population control agendas that are out there. It's interesting how their mindset is, hey, the answer to all of these problems that people suffer with because of bugs biting them, insects, I know we should just devise a technology that can control the population of mosquitoes. This mentality clearly is not isolated to just mosquitoes, but it is important to understand that they are using that language verbatim. Control mosquito population. All right, so we'll look at some of the cons here. It may carry or trigger unknown pathogens. Gee, that's breaking news. We don't know what's going to be. And, again, I just reminded myself, when you listen to private vaccine meetings, it's very interesting. I've actually put them out on Natural Health 365. When you hear that the top people in charge of these meetings will go around the room and ask physicians if they have any reservation before placing a vote, are you in favor of this vaccine being rolled out or not? Many of the doctors are pretty quiet. They'll raise their hands. Yes, we approve. We're sure that it's gone through proper testing, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, what they usually talk about is we don't have all the data we need. And once it's released into the population, we will use studies and see what happens and report back after we see what clinically happens in the population. And that's exactly where we're heading with GM mosquitoes. By the way, just as a reminder, this whole thing that Bill Gates has been funding through a company, and you can see this whole article that we put out on Natural Health 365 just recently on this, right on our site, where you can read more about it, the company and all that jazz. This summer, they want to release this in Florida and Texas. So they're going to roll this out, folks, and they're going to just see what happens. That is definitely a part of these experiments. Do not kid yourself. They don't have all of this fully tested. They don't know 100% if everything's going to be all right. But they're always comfortable in saying, to one degree or another, we'll see how it goes. We'll monitor the situation. And they've done the same thing for many other things, even vaccines, which most people hear are safe and effective, but this is their mentality. Not enough testing from independent sources. That is very true. There is none of that. And you can see that across the board. The pharmaceutical industry tests their own products, report to the United States Food and Drug Administration their results. The FDA takes those results and says approved or not approved based on their own data from companies that have a vested interest in making money in the drugs they sell. So who's doing this testing? Think about it, folks. The people doing the testing are the people behind the genetically modified mosquitoes. Are they going to do tests, see something wrong, and just say, hey, I just want to come clean and let you know that before you decide whether we should approve this or not for release to the public, we did want to show you this study that shows that it's not good, it's dangerous. Are they really going to do that, sinking all this money into it? No. They're going to find their ways to show that something is great. And this reminds me even of food. Can I remind you, I would hope that most of you watching this program know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a 2-year Seralini study on rats eating genetically modified food, genetically modified organisms in the feed that the rats were eating. And what happened was this Seralini study, the researchers followed what happens to these rats. Now, this is very important, okay? This goes back to the field testing. Remember the field testing that I said they mentioned as a pro? Field testing shows that there's no problem to human health. Across the board, all the studies that were put out in favor of genetically modified organisms in food crops were studies that were done only within weeks, a very short period of time, generally no more than 3 months. Study was done, no damage was found, put it out to the public, and let everybody know that everything is okay with this genetically modified plant or species of food. The problem is, Seralini did a 2-year study and noticed the same thing with the rats. They ate genetically modified foods, snacking on it all the time. First 3 months, rats are fine. 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half, and 2. If you recall, if you could look up the Seralini study, you would see it's spelled Seralini, Seralini. In this Seralini study, they show what happens to these rats. The tumors, massive tumors that were growing in their bodies and literally making them deformed by eating this crap food in a very short period of time. As far as I'm concerned, a year or 2 is not that long in a human lifespan. In these animals, the growths and the disfigurement happen and the death happened well after 3 months. Where are the studies on GM food past 3 months? So this is the only independent study that really pointed to, whoa, there's a major concern with genetically modifying foods. How could anyone in their right mind think that if we genetically manipulate, alter something, that there won't be implications down the road that would shock us, just blow our mind? What are we supposed to do with all of this stuff later on? Oops, made a mistake. What happened to the precautionary principle, right? We all understand what that phrase is. The precautionary principle means if we have a feeling from common sense and intelligence that something is risky business, we should hold off and not allow anything like this to roll out to the general public and expose them until we were 100% sure. Okay, so another con, if you will, is these genetically modified mosquitoes may mutate into a stronger mosquito that could reproduce and pose an even greater new threat. This is a reasonable thing to figure might happen if we let these genetically modified mosquitoes get out into the public and mix it up with the regular mosquitoes. Also, there's a fear that the GM mosquitoes can survive and breed. Now, supposedly, this is not supposed to happen that much. We're supposed to be knocking down the risk of these ugly, terrible, bad, natural mosquitoes. But what if they're wrong? Why is that such a crazy, radical concept? It's very possible they could be very wrong, and these mosquitoes just survive and breed, and it becomes this really dangerous mosquito that's out there. It's also very expensive. Okay, they say it's not much manpower, but this is an expensive, time-consuming effort. And then last but not least, there are many other ways, less risky, to protect people from mosquitoes. What did I just say? Really? You mean all this money that Bill Gates is spending on research with a whole company on figuring out how to develop and deploy genetically modified mosquitoes? There's another way that already exists? We don't need all of this? And you can tell I'm being a little facetious. The point is, the answer is yes. Of course there is. Let me give you some solutions that are more natural. I know it's a crazy thing for me to suggest, but clove. There's something relatively harmless. Look it up, CLOVE, mixed with some coconut oil. Rub it on. That clove is an insect repellent, bug repellent. Wow. Citronella with olive oil. Wow. Okay, I get it. Don't yell at me. Jonathan, how much? I don't know how. I'm getting stressed out. Look, my wife and I aren't the big formulators over here. I'm the first one to admit it. I go to a natural farmer's market. I love giving them a few dollars and supporting a company that'll have a table set up. Most of these natural farmers markets have companies like this. You can find one or two, and lo and behold, you'll see these little pump bottles that they're selling for a few dollars that is basically, especially in the summertime, all designed to be able to spray on you. Bugs don't like it, and they stay away. And you can buy a bottle, spray it on you, and be perfectly okay if you are very worried about the mosquito. Look, I don't like to get bit by a mosquito at all, but honestly, I've been bit by mosquitoes. I couldn't even tell you how many times. A lot. It's annoying. It gets itchy. My body, where the bite is, swells up a little red. You know, sometimes not red, but itchy. All kinds of degrees. Sometimes a little bump, but not that bad at all. All different degrees. I suppose it depends the kind of bug that got me, right? The mosquito. But I recover. I'm here today trying to help you. And so that's been my experience. But if you are concerned, those are some choices. You can also plant basil. Yes, basil, BASIL, around your home. Basil is a natural deterrent of these insects. They'll want to stay away. They sense when basil is around. In your garden, you could have basil around the foods that don't get chewed up by the insects by putting basil around there. So that's another one. But here's one I want to leave you with as I close out today. Nothing too long today, kind of a shorter live broadcast. And it's breaking news. You know how I love to say breaking news. And you understand, if you're new to this, when I say breaking news, the premise behind that is it's breaking news for the vast majority of the population that sadly don't tune into shows like this. Not just me, all kinds of people like me that are out there trying to explain things that are not actually in the mainstream media, right? CNN is played throughout all the airports. My goodness, right? Could you imagine if my show was broadcasted at every major airport in the United States? Mandatory. Like literally they pipe that in for everyone to watch. CNN is rolling. And all the other mainstream media outlets that pump out the same old stories. When I say breaking news, this is the kind of stuff that's not being played out in the TV, in newspapers and radio. I know you get all that. So, and in case you didn't, that's why I explained it. Here's the breaking news of this whole thing with the mosquitoes. Improve your immune system. Improve my immune system? What has this got to do with mosquitoes? Because if the bug bites you with a strong immune system, you have a chance to be okay. And if you have lots of allergies and you have chronic illnesses and now you get bit by a bug and it slightly infects you, All right, you got yourself a serious problem. And let me point you to someone, Dr. Thomas Rau. Yes, he's a physician out of Switzerland. I think many of you probably are familiar. If not, Dr. Thomas Rau, R-A-U, that's how you spell his last name. He's a biological physician. He's got a clinic in Switzerland where people with horrific diseases at death's door, they will go make the effort to literally travel to this guy, stay at the clinic, blood testing, the whole thing, a whole workup, all kinds of extensive treatments, and it's a healing center, and trying to literally save these people's lives. They will go with family and try to live another day. He is very well known for talking about how in Lyme disease, I picked this out because it's bug related, right? A tick bites you, you get infected with Lyme. Oh no! But guess what, folks? A lot of people get bit with ticks and they're fine. And there's a whole bunch of people, hundreds of thousands, who get bit with ticks and they get the symptoms of Lyme disease after being infected with the Lyme buggy, right? The infection from the tick, because their immune system is down. That's what he has clearly said over the years, is what he sees as the difference between those that are asymptomatic versus those that are symptomatic. Do you see the similarities between this and cancer and COVID? Oh my God, what am I talking about now? In COVID patients, there are lots of people tested positive and negative. There are way more people than we're aware of that could have a viral or bacterial infection in their body right now, including me. But I'm asymptomatic, as well as millions and millions of people. Why are they okay? It's the immune system. That's what's keeping us all right. Traveling around, doing its magic, sensing where there's trouble, and going in and taking care of the issue before it becomes a real serious problem. We all walk around with cancer cells, every single one of us. But we're not going into the doctor's office, thank God, with the need for chemotherapy and radiation, and that's a whole other story. Don't let me go off into that topic. But the idea is we've got those cells, but our immune system detects them, destroys them, and escorts them out of the body. It's because of our immune system that we're okay. So all of this is a mentality. It's an orientation to where we should be focusing our own personal energy, our own time, our own money, invested in things that improve our immune system. And God knows, as I close out, I would love Bill Gates, if you're listening to this show, which I highly doubt. But if you are, please take your money and invest it in things that enhance human immune function. That, for me, would show that you really are for humanity and not some other kind of agenda. And that's what I would challenge every one of us to do. No matter what's going on in the world, GM mosquitoes, COVID-19, cancer and heart disease, death and destruction. Yes, we're aware of all these things happening outside of us, but if we could just focus our attention on everything that we can do for ourselves and those that we love to improve our immune system, eating the organic food, best quality supplements we can, hydrating, getting some form of easy, consistent exercise into our lifestyle, positive thinking. This is going to be huge. We're actually going to come out with a story really soon on Natural Health 365 about RNT. Does everybody know what RNT is? It's a new disease. I'm just kidding. It's a very old disease. RNT, repetitive negative thinking. We're going to actually talk about that in an article about how destructive that is for your health. That will lower your immune system and make you more predisposed or open to getting a serious infection that runs amok in your body because your immune system is so low that's when you're going to have all these problems. So, again, I think I've made the point really clear. My question for today, what is my question for today? Do you think we should have GM mosquitoes? It's a fair, honest question. Don't be bashful. I want to hear what you have to say about GM mosquitoes. Should we have them or not? Voice your opinion in the comment section. I want to know where you're coming from because I'm laughing because every day I don't think you'll have any doubt as you spend more time with me. You know where I'm coming from. I have no problem telling you, okay? And if you have questions, please ask them. I'm happy to answer them. That's it for today. All right, just as a reminder now, you know I love to give you my reminder. The Natural Health 365 live broadcast is broadcasted every single day, all designed on one mission to help you improve your immune system and protect your health. And we do this show every single day, Monday to Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time. We produce a new show each and every day, Monday to Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So be sure to join us each and every day. And do me a big favor, as I always like to ask you, share this show with someone that you love. Let them watch it and then ask them what they think about it. It's a great point of conversation, and you don't have to try to convince anybody of anything. It's just be really good to stir up the conversation. Thanks a lot for joining us, and I really look forward to speaking to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Good show. Really good. What'd we do?